Hey everyone, sorry it's been a little bit. My personal goal is to get a video out every week, but with work and my side business as a wedding photographer, videographer, things have been super crazy busy. But I'm glad to be making this video and I appreciate anyone tuning in. Today I want to take a quick look at an extremely special game that hit me really by surprise. This game is Sable. Now, how do I even describe this interesting, meditative, beautiful game? Well, since I pretty much love every iteration of Star Wars media, except for you, For me, the first thing that came to mind is how Sable feels like if someone made a game about Rey. Sable is very similar to Rey in that they are both these lone travelers gliding around their planet, scavenging and learning about life that came before them by exploring ruins of a bygone age. But I'm not going to be comparing this stunning experience to Star Wars the whole time. What I want to do is take a look at the really lovely photo mode, the world design, and this feeling the game gives me as a whole. So let's talk about Sable.
Come in to me, show us the way. I'm caught between the wind and parts of the unknown. Adored between two worlds, a sight to see. It feels like everything is moving around me. Feels like it is moving in
It's funny how sometimes it takes a while to fully dive into a game. I remember I didn't play Horizon Zero Dawn for like 3 years, and then I fell in love with it. Same with Sable. I tried to play it a few years back and it just wasn't hitting, but this past winter I picked it up again for fun and I could not stop playing. I woke up every day at 6 a.m. and played 2 hours of Sable until I got the platinum. Even after I got the plat, I wanted more. There's something indescribably magical about this game and how it presents the world both narratively and as the player. Not only is Sable the character about to begin a grand journey to find herself, we as players are also discovering the world for the first time. I love when games can achieve this type of exploration. Every corner I turned in this game, I was treated to something new that drew me in, be it a derelict ship ruin, a massive structure atop a mesa, or some kind of smoke signal beckoning me. This game is more about discovery than anything else. Here's a great quote from the creative director in an interview with Eurogamer. That's where the writing, the environmental design, the level design, all of that will come in. But we also wanted to make a game that wasn't stressful, or the tension doesn't come from the mechanics itself, but rather a story theme. It's not about having faster reactions than someone else. You just care about this character and the things that happen. You know, I actually realized a couple hours into the game that, whoa, I haven't fought anything. And you may be thinking, so what, big deal, but really think about the video games that you've played recently. How often is there not some kind of combat? Here are some of the games in my heavy rotation right now, and not a single one doesn't have heavy combat mechanics. I say all this because it's really quite rare to play a game, especially an open world game, that doesn't need to rely on heavy action. And while Sable is driven by exploration, there are two aspects of the game that make this all the more compelling, and a game I would have easily spent many more hours in. First, the music is just so good. Anyone who has reviewed or talked about Sable has likely mentioned this, but wow, I've got to say it too. It has so much texture, at times there's synth, and then there's a round of intricate percussion beats, and then other times you'll be treated to full-on songs that pair cinematically with story beats.
a sight to see. It feels like everything is moving around me.
This music was all done by the artist Japanese Breakfast, who I had not even heard of until now. This is funny too, because Japanese Breakfast is a huge artist with over 1.3 million monthly listeners on Spotify. This scoring actually reminds me of when Arcade Fire scored the film Her. It seems so out of left field for an artist to do something like that, and yet it turns out to be one of the best compositions you've ever heard. Secondly, the overall look of this game is so unlike anything I have played or even seen, like in art for that matter. It's somewhere between cel-shaded and hand-drawn sketch. It's mesmerizing, and the use of color palettes are really something. Just look at some of these images with the primary colors broken out. It is stunning. It's also quite a feat for the world to feel so dense and dimensional, even though it's such a 2D looking art direction. What's cool is the art direction has stayed really true to the original concept of the game. There's a cool video that the team shared online that was one of the first up and running builds of this game, and it looks just about the same. I love when a creative vision can be seen to the end of a project like that. And this brings me to talking about the lovely photo mode. This photo mode is simple, but in the best ways. Just like the game, there isn't a lot of distracting elements. For one, there's no depth of field, which at first I was bummed about because I'm so conditioned to be like, oh, I want the depth of field. But then I realized that is 100% the right option. Since this game resembles a 2D drawing, adding some kind of depth would totally take away from that art direction and ruin it. I've actually taken a shot here and added a fake depth of field just to show how wrong this looks. Beyond that, you've got a much appreciated 90-degree tilt, which makes for some of the most stunning images that I feel I've ever taken. And there's also this time of day slider, and when I tell you that the time of day can transform an image, I mean it probably more than I ever have. Going from an orange warm daylight to this deep blue night is so fun to experiment with. And I also really admire the filters. I haven't seen a game get so creative since Middle-earth Shadow of War did. These are some really interesting filters that allow you to see the game in a stripped down 3D model kind of way, and they've also got this great coloring book type of filter. So fun. The other big thing that the photo mode does right, and quite frankly it would have pretty much ruined the photo mode if it didn't have this, it's this exceptional range on the camera. Since the world is so large in scale, it only does it justice to be able to capture the environment with a huge range on the camera. You can take shots so far away that the character looks little more than a speck on the screen. And if I'm not mistaken, this game was developed by like 2 or 3 people. This is insanely impressive to have so much thought put into a photo mode. I love it. Sable is such a uniquely beautiful game to play, and I feel like it's one that I'll return to every so often. Themes of finding your identity are so universal that I really think Sable can speak to a lot of us. I think even when you find a job and you're living a life that you're proud of, you can still struggle with that question of who am I and have I done enough? In the end of the game, I personally chose the Choom mask. Something about finding and returning those little guys back to their mother made me feel so happy. And I like what Sable says about the mask when choosing it. Is this the sort of thing other people would understand? Or would I be an outlier? A weirdo obsessive chasing down elusive, mysterious creatures? But when I think back to the feeling of returning the small creatures to their lair, to their joyous little faces dancing away and their happy mother tending to them, I can't help feel that perhaps this would give me some kind of greater purpose. I think this really spoke to me. Purpose isn't a quantifiable thing. One person's achievements can mean nothing to another. An example I like to use here is thinking about the MVP Hall of Fame. I'm personally not interested in sports in even the slightest, so if someone were to offer me a spot in the Sports Hall of Fame, I just wouldn't care that much because it's not interesting to me, it's not important to me. I think Sable embodies the idea of choosing who you are, even if it doesn't always make sense to others. Life is about the exploration of it, and not about the goals that you've achieved. If you can't tell, I feel really strongly about Sable, and this game really touched me, and I really appreciate it. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching, and if you like this kind of video essay, please subscribe, see more coming. I've really enjoyed getting to know some of you here in the comments who share and love games like me. So until next time.